My question, though, is more about stock picking. There is a universe with hundreds of thousands of publicly traded securities out there. What suggestions would you have for young people like us to just put our finger up there and say, this is a good area to invest in, or this is a good stock to invest in?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think the first thing is that you don't need to have an opinion on most of these securities. In fact, I would say you don't need to have an opinion on 99% of them. So the first thing I would do is try to figure out what are the parts of the world that I understand. What's my circle of competence? Do I understand, the banking sector really well? Or do I understand Apple really well? What do I understand really well? If you understand something really well, by definition, you would know what that business is worth. And then you know what it's worth and you know what it's being priced at. And you can see whether there's a delta between the two. So I would not focus on, looking at this whole great big wide world. I would just look at, things that you know about, things that you understand, products that you use, just things around you that make sense. You read the newspaper, something intrigues you about something, and you dive in and dig in and then take it from there. So that's how I would go about it. I would not really try to complicate it more than that.
And as a follow up, after you've identified a company that you think is interesting, how do you decide if it's worth pulling the trigger and executing on that particular company?
Well, I think it should get to a point where you should be able to explain to a 9-year-old in about 5 sentences why you're going to be drowning in wealth after investing in that business and why there's no chance you would lose any money. And so if you can explain that to 8 or 9-year-old in a paragraph or less, then I think you got it.
Taking a position that's grown to a sizable portion of the portfolio and then learning when to pare back that position or even exit the trade. When do you realize you should start paring back your trade and start taking some profits in the position?
Well, the Walton family hasn't done that for 51 years. And many, many founders have not done that. So the question I would ask, and this I think you would get a lot out of Nick Sleep's letters, is the question I would ask is the business getting better? So I won't really focus so much on the valuation. So my mindset would be that of a founder, that I'm like a founder or a family that owns the business. And I'm not particularly concerned that it's worth 100 and it's trading at 120. That is, I think, an irrelevant data point for me. What I'm concerned about is what is the quality of the business? And is the business getting better? Now, if the valuation is completely egregious, right? I mean, like, Snowflake or something, this thing is trading at 80 times sales or something. Well, that's a different conversation. Okay. But I wouldn't be particularly concerned if there was a good business and I think it should be worth 20 times earnings and it's trading at 30 times earnings. I don't think the factor there would be that I can find something at 12 times earnings and do that. So there's tax implications for that in most accounts. I used to be an investor who used to look at intrinsic value, sell, and go back and buy something else. I think that if I own a great business, that's the question I want to ask. Is the business getting better? And if the answer is yes, and the pricing is not extremely egregious, I'm just doing nothing. Paring back issue is that we should be comfortable with 95% in one stock. So if you made a great investment in Amazon 10 or 15 years ago, and it just grew and grew and grew, and it became like 80, 90% of the portfolio, and you look at Amazon today, is the business getting better? Absolutely. It's getting better by the day. And is it egregiously overvalued? I don't think so. So my answer would be if it was 95% of my portfolio and I owned it for 15 years, I would just do nothing. Jeff is telling me it's day one. It's still day one. So we'll wait till at least day two When he says it's day two, I'll look at it.
Yes. Thank you, Mohnish, for coming to speak with us. I've really enjoyed listening to this. I have a question regarding level of certainty and how much information you need to know before entering a position.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of approaches. I think what I noticed with someone like Li Lu or even with Nick Sleep is they tend to start these positions small, and they don't seem to have a problem with buying as it goes up in price. They don't have a problem paying more. I think Lilu has spoken that he believes that risk factors go down as you own the business for longer because you know more about it. And so even though you're paying a higher price, your amount of knowledge is just vastly superior. And the other thing what I found to be true is you really understand a business only after you own it. So it has to be real, to be real money in a portfolio. That's when you really start to understand it. So it could be just fine. I mean, I think when Nick Sleep was running his portfolio, he would have 30 stocks. But, 7 or 8 stocks would make up 70, 80%. And then there was a farm team on the side, which is, a bunch of small positions, which might move up to, the major leagues at some point or might not. So you could take that approach. I haven't taken that approach in my portfolio, but I think that's a valid approach, and that's fine. So you could do it a couple of different ways. There's such a large range of businesses that you could invest in that if you're looking at a company and you don't have enough information, I mean, I think disclosures can be low in a business, but your understanding can be really good. So I don't think it's a direct correlation between disclosure and understanding. The key is, so for example, it could be there's an emerging market business where you are a consumer of the product and you understand the product really well. And you also have a very good understanding of the economics of the business around that product. So if you understand the product and the moat and all of that, then the disclosures the company is doing is not that relevant. Because I think you have a great, and the other thing is to look at the track record. It should show up in the historic track record. And so I think that I would not want to invest. I don't invest anything until I have great conviction. And you can get great conviction even if the business is not providing a lot of detail, if you really understand it well. But if you don't get that great conviction, I think you should have the discipline to move on.